The following program is brought to you by PodcastOne Sportsnet.
This episode of the Steve Austin Show is brought to you free today by TrueCar and Geico. Go to geico.com, and in 15 minutes, you could be saving 15% or more on car insurance.
The following program is a PodcastOne.com production. From Hollywood, California, by way of the Broken Skull Ranch, this is the Steve Austin Show.
Give me a hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Now, here's Steve Austin.
All right, everybody, welcome to Steve Austin Show. I am coming to you from the mean streets of Los Angeles, California today. I'm sitting over here at 317 Gimmick Street, cutting open this podcast. My guest on the podcast today is one of my all-time favorites, one of my good friends, Jumpin' Jim Ross, the white meat babyface from Norman, Oklahoma. Jim just got back from Saudi Arabia over in Jeddah, where he went with the WWE to go do that pay-per-view on the WWE network. I guess it's not a pay-per-view anymore. Well, you got to pay for the network, so by proxy, it is a pay-per-view. Anyway, hell of a damn travel over there, hell of a damn travel back. I thought the show was pretty damn good. I thought Shinsuke and AJ stole the show with the best match, and I'm enjoying Shinsuke's work as a heel, and of course AJ is AJ. He's phenomenal, no pun intended. So that was a pretty damn good match. But anyway, I talked to Jim, gave him a call, caught up with him, and we talk about the business of pro wrestling, we talk about the good old days, and just talk about life in general. So I think you'll enjoy today's conversation, and it's always good because, hell, it's been a while since I've talked to Jim. So he joins me here on the podcast, and I tell you what, man, I was actually down in Nevada for about 10 days, and I was supposed to be down in Nevada for about another 5 or 6 days on my quote-unquote vacation. But I got a call, some business came up, had to get on back to the mean streets of Los Angeles, and that's why I'm sitting here in 317 Gimmick Street. I'm supposed to be in Nevada still. I wish I was still there because I was having a damn blast riding my mule, my four-wheeler, and my damn KLX 450 dirt bike. The 2008 KLX 450, last year they made that model. That is the newest 10-year-old bike on planet Earth. I had a new suspension spring, putting an ass into that thing. I told you guys about it. And the damn thing rides like a champ. It doesn't sag anymore with my big ass on it. And I'm out there just tearing that place limb from limb. I don't think I'm going to go join a race anytime soon or compete, but it just felt good to get back out there on the dirt on two wheels again. It's been a long time since I've ridden out there. So my vacation got cut short. I got a chance to ride on my mules and just kind of tool around. The biggest thing I'm having with Nevada is, like, you can pick a peak, like a mountaintop with snow on it, and kind of as a reference point. But man, you know, if you lose that peak and you kind of just get a few ridges over, a lot of that stuff really looks the same to me. I navigate South Texas brush country much better than I navigate the mountains of the Sierra Nevada, you know, Nevada in general. But I'm learning. I might have to get me a GPS device. The last thing I need to do is for a global icon and a national treasure to get lost out there and run out of gas and have to walk his ass back home. That would suck. And on top of that, you would be lost, or I would be lost, so it wouldn't be worth a shit. Anyway, damn it, I tell you what, we came back to L.A., but while we were down there, I got a chance to ride all my toys, and the most fun I think I had was riding that damn Brute Force 750, because, man, that four-wheeler out there, that is just the element for that thing to be. And I like having four wheels. I love climbing stuff. Man, some technical, tricky stuff that you damn near go ass over tea kettle. You got to employ four-wheel drive. And I like going down stuff. I like turns, hitting those berms, but I really like climbing. And I got a chance to ride with my brother-in-law, Mitch, and we rode some pretty good miles one day. And I ate his dust the whole day. And then when I rode by myself the other day, I found this little area not too far from my house. And I had bought a set of ramps from Tractor Supply to load up my four-wheeler in the back of my pickup truck. And these are the kind of ramps that fold in the middle. They're about 80 inches long. So what's that? They're a little over 6 feet once you unfold them. And they come with a strap each to tie to your pickup truck so the ramps don't shift or move when you're driving your buggy, your four-wheeler, on or off your pickup truck. And my brother-in-law was asking me, he goes, "Hey, man, don't you ever use those straps?" I said, "No, man." I said, "I ain't never had no reason for them." Well, I was about to have a reason for them. I offloaded my four-wheeler, put on all my gear. I was wearing elbow pads, boots, helmet, goggles, gloves, everything. I was fully protected. I went out there and rode like a banshee all over the place. And I came upon a couple of dudes on four-wheelers and another guy in a pickup truck, and I stopped and talked to them and was asking them about certain points of that place we're at. And they gave me some information, and I said, okay, man, I'll see you guys later. I'm going to go ride for about another hour and load up and get out of here. So I went over there and just kept riding, just gassing it. And I'll tell you what, man, that damn Brute Force 750, mister, when you grab that throttle and you push that throttle forward with your right thumb, you talk about some awesome horsepower and torque. That's an arm straightener, and that sumbitch has plenty of power, and it just handles like a dream. So anyway, I get through riding. I still got all my gear on, and I left all my ramps in the back of my pickup truck on the tailgate, just like I had left it before. Nobody ever bothers your stuff out there in Nevada, or at least nobody yet. And I get ready to ride up the ramps. I have my four-wheeler in low. I have it in four-wheel drive. And I got to ease up those ramps, and I give it a little bit of gas right before my front wheel gets up on the tailgate, and I'll be damned if, sure enough, that left side shot that left ramp out from underneath that four-wheeler, and boy, down I come. And it doesn't seem like very high when you're just standing next to a tailgate. But when you're on top of a big-ass four-wheeler, which is on top of the ramp, you're pretty kind of high up there. So, man, that ramp shot out from underneath there, and all of a sudden, I was on the ground looking at my four-wheeler coming down. And that thing came down right beside me on the left side and just stayed there, perfectly still, motor still running. I reached over there, hit the kill switch, shut the engine down. I had my helmet, my goggles on. Nobody could see who I was, but there was also nobody out there. Man, as soon as I hit the ground, collected myself, hey, everything's cool, I got up, jumped in my pickup truck, pulled it forward about 5 feet so I could flip my four-wheeler back over because my truck was in the way. And I pulled my truck up, come back, and just give the four-wheeler one shove. And it was directly on both wheels, the left front and rear wheels on its side, sitting there perfectly still. And I pushed it over, and it lands, and the suspension springs up. And there wasn't a scratch on the damn thing. So now, to my brother-in-law, I tell you this. From here on out, I'm going to use my safety straps on my loading and unloading ramps, and I suggest to anybody out there listening to my podcast, if you're loading up a motorcycle, a four-wheeler, a UTV, whatever it is, strap your ramps down because you can really put you in harm's way or put you in a bad place. I could have easily been hurt. The four-wheeler could have easily fell on me. It didn't. It fell beside me. I think being in the business of getting knocked down for a living, I know how to fall. I've had four-wheelers roll on top of me when you're going up something, you need to stay north and south because if you start getting a little bit east or west, that thing is going to roll. I've done that before many years ago in all my hunting expeditions. But you always got to be careful. So I recommend, bottom line, using your tie-down straps when you use your ramps. I'm okay, 100%. The four-wheeler was okay. I was more worried about my four-wheeler because that would have been the first time that I've never crashed it. I've done some really cool things on it. Me and Mitch just hit some badass roads the other day and had a blast. But I guess I broke it in by having my first little incident on my loading ramps. So anyway, hey, use your straps when you're out there. I'm fine. My four-wheeler's fine. Everything's good. I had a blast, actually. As soon as I loaded up my pickup truck and put my folded up my ramps and hauled ass out of there, the first person I called was Mitch. I was laughing my ass off. I said, dude, you ain't going to believe it. You told me to use those straps, and from now on, I'm going to use them. And so my four-wheeler, my Brute Force 750, is officially broken in, and everything's okay. Use your straps, and that's the bottom line. Hey, man, I could sit here and talk forever, but I'm not going to talk forever. I've got to get ready to go out and do this gig that I came back to L.A. to do. And once I get done with, I think it's 3-4 days of work, I'm getting ready to head back to Nevada, hopefully, where I can finish up my vacation. I was just going to take about one more week off and then get back into the gym and on the training program. but I was enjoying myself down there. It's funny, man, because we flew down there, and you fly over the Sierra Nevadas, and you land right there in Nevada. And when you fly back, I'll post a picture on my Instagram account, at Steve Austin BSR. I'll show you the mountains that I was riding on, and then I'll show you what I flew back into. I left some of the most beautiful country that there is out here in the United States of America, and LA's cool, but man, there is just house after house after house lined up on top of each other, and that's what I flew back into. So LA is cool. It's a great city with great weather. But I tell you what, out there where my place is in Nevada, it's so peaceful and so quiet, so secluded and wide open, and you can access all of it. It's just phenomenal. So I'm enjoying my time down there. Nevada's a good place. That being said, I'm born and raised in the great state of Texas, and I got to give Texas a shout out because it's a state that is near and dear to my heart. Hey, man, enough with all the shenanigans and philosophical horse shit. Let's get on to my podcast with Jim Ross, the white meat babyface from Norman, Oklahoma. But before we get to Jim Ross, I'm going to tell you guys about how you can save hundreds of dollars on your car insurance with Geico. Go to geico.com, and in 15 minutes, you could be saving 15% or more on car insurance. That's right. Save hundreds of dollars on car insurance at geico.com. Extra money in your pocket. It may just be the most rewarding thing you do today.
Are you looking for a champion's insight from a fan's perspective into the world of sports and entertainment?
Then check out In the Key with me, NBA champion BJ Armstrong.
And me, sports analyst Gerald Brown.
Right here on Podcast One. We know the business, and each week we'll chat with celebrity guests and provide an informed discourse on the cultural beats of the moment.
Download new episodes of In the Key every Thursday on PodcastOneSports.com, the Podcast One app, or Apple Podcasts.
This is the Steve Austin Show.
All right, man. I think we're sounding good finally, Jim.
Right.
To everybody listening out there, this is Steve Austin on the Steve Austin Show, the one-man cluster muck. If there's a way that I can foul up a podcast through technology, I will find it. I'm talking to my good friend Jim Ross from Norman, Oklahoma. A man just returned from Saudi Arabia. Missed the Bellator main event between Fedor Emelianenko and Frank Mir. It didn't last long, and you missed the NFL draft. God dang it. Y'all went a long ways for a hell of a show. I watched part of that show on the WWE Network. Did you have a good time? How you feeling right now? You just basically got home.
Yeah, I'm feeling good, Steve. It was a good time. It's fun to be a part of the event because no matter how many more they have, you'll always say, well, I went on that first trip to Saudi Arabia. And to me, it's things like that now, my little check off my bucket list type stuff, just traveling somewhere different, doing something else, doing a different project. And, I'm not a big pre-show guy. And then we had the halftime thing. That was during the prayer. They had to stop and pray 5 times a day. And so that was a part of the prayer time that we did that middle, that almost like an intermission type of a panel discussion. So it was a new experience there, but boy, howdy, I tell you, man, it was, I spent 36 hours in airplanes, notwithstanding connections and layovers and all that stuff, ground transportation. I left my house at 6:30 on Wednesday morning, and I got home at 7 o'clock Saturday night. And between those 2 days, I slept one night in a hotel. Other than that, airplane or at the arena. That was taxing, but I would have traded. I'm really glad I got booked.
I'd heard about the break for the prayer, and then I guess I thought I'd originally heard it's supposed to be an hour, and then maybe they shortened it to 15 minutes. I missed that part of the pay-per-view, I guess, where you guys were doing that thing. So how long did the intermission prayer break last?
I'm going to guess about 30 minutes. I'm guessing. It didn't last long. It didn't seem like it was long. It wasn't bad, though. I think it probably was needed. If I'm an announcer sitting in ringside like Cole and his boys were, I would have embraced a break, hit the can, and there's one thing about wearing darks. There's a reason for that, but if you got a chance to take a break and get through to the and go to that men's room, it sounds like a small, rinky-dink deal, but it's a whole lot bigger than you think.
No, but intermission break is actually a pretty damn good idea. I mean, it's just like halftime in a football game, or between quarters in the NBA. Just you can take a stop down. So, like you said, take care of business at hand.
Oh, Lawler and I we traveled together. He met me in Houston on Wednesday, and then we flew from Houston to Frankfurt, then Frankfurt to Jeddah, and we sat together on those two legs. So we were laughing about, what the hell are we doing here? He's 68. He'll be 69 his next birthday. I'm 66. We looked at each other. I said, are we both just crazy? He said, well, the business, kind of gets a hold of you, JR. You know how it is. So I said, hey, King, when are you going to stop working all those damn indie shows on the weekends? When they quit booking me. Greatest answer of all. When are you going to stop working? When they quit booking me. And he meant it. It wasn't like a cool little saying. He meant every damn word he said. But we had, as a matter of fact, he and I are organizing through Barry Bloom and all my guys a tour, JR and the King Q&A stage show deal. And we've been talking about doing that forever. And so that could be a really interesting walk through the Attitude Era with the two guys that called most of those matches. As far as the Q&A is concerned, it should be kind of fun in that regard. So we'll be watching for that, because this is another way that we can get on another airplane and go out and do more work, and we'll still be old, but we'll sure still going to have fun doing it.
How many shows you looking to book? How busy y'all going to try to make this thing?
No, maybe once or twice a month, maybe. Once a month, probably, more likely. We're talking to Chicago, Nashville. I'm not sure what all they got some dates penciled in, and for me, I don't have to worry about the routing or the scheduling or the hotels or all that stuff. I can just show up and do my thing and help promote it going in. Same for Jerry. So we were laughing about that. He said, how long do you think our production meetings are going to last? He's telling me tongue in cheek, because he knows I'm a pain in the ass when it comes to preparing and having data and all this bullshit. So anyway, he says, how long do you think our production meeting is going to last? I said, about a minute. That's about it. What are you going to do? I mean, the audience is going to ask the questions, right? And they can ask whatever they want. You hope you have a good MC that can kind of, point guard this thing around. That's important. But let the audience ask whatever the hell they want, and that produces a show for you. And so I'm looking forward to those shows. So we'll have some something to say about that soon, somewhere along the social media line, or my podcast on Westwood One or whatever, someplace. But I'm looking forward to it, because he and I have seamless conversations, Steve. It's the damnedest thing, man. And we could be away from each other for 3 months, 6 months, whatever, and when we sat down, nothing changed. The timing is there. The rhythm is there. And it's not a damn thing we've ever talked about or we've strategized. It's a feel thing. And I'm lucky I had a partner that was a lot more talented than me, and that could make me look good. But, he's pretty damn good with the one-liners and ad-libbing. That's his thing. Great at it.
He's still, doing some indie shots and doing his thing. But you've kind of been, I call it civilian mode, because I've been a civilian hell, man, since 2003. Do you still enjoy the travel? Because, once I got away from the road, when you're doing it, you're kind of, you're in the grind. I call it zombie mode, and you live for it because that's what you do. But now that I've been away from it so long, I really don't care to travel anywhere. How are you with the travel these days?
I am not embracing TSA and oversold flights, and everybody's got a camera phone and everybody wants a selfie. I don't have any issues taking selfies with any fans, but sometimes they just got to use a little bit more common sense and judgment. Standing at the urinal ain't that place, for example. Sorry, pal. Unless it says in there, objects in this picture are much larger than they seem. I don't expect that treatment. So, but I enjoy getting there and working. I enjoyed arriving in Jeddah. I enjoyed going to the stadium. We went to the stadium we were at the hotel at 10:30, I think, on Friday morning, and the show didn't start for us till 6. And then we stayed until the end, and left. Well, we left about midnight, so I think the show was over. So, but I watched all of the TV locker room. You've been there a million times. It was nice and cool and dark and sleep-worthy, but we watched, several of us in there watching it and just relaxing. So it was fun. So my point is, do I like to travel? No. Do I hate it? Not enough to stay home, but I like what I do when I get to where I'm going, if that makes any sense.
Hey, was there any kind of a speech or anything to the boys to, hey, keep this tone down? I mean, I know everybody's pretty PC from, it's a PG product, but was there any kind of speech as far as, hey, do not do this, we're over here, we don't want to offend anybody, or just kind of keep it straight?
Yeah, I don't know that there was, because the talent left the hotel at 9:30 on Friday morning. So we were at the stadium all day and most of the night. That's why everybody looked tired, felt tired, and was a little bit tired. It was just a long-ass day after coming off of amazingly long flights. But I didn't hear about a meeting. Now, I know that I got an email that this gave me some background on Saudi and what, some of their customs and do's and don'ts in that regard. But, basically there's no booze, little things. If somebody extends their hand to shake hands with you, you always shake their hand. Stuff like that. Nothing major. Just stuff I could Google if I was so damn lazy. But here's the deal, man. I went from the Jeddah airport to the hotel in a Tahoe. Me and Lawler and Booker. I went in the hotel, put my stuff away, Steve, and by then they were serving dinner from 6 to 10. So the majority of those 4 hours was like the restaurant became kind of like a small school student union. Everybody was kind of hanging there because his food was there nonstop.
Yeah.
So the boys, all of us, at least we can have a good meal type thing. But the hotel was a 5-star hotel. The food was primo, absolutely primo. And we hung there, and so the time I got in my room, went to bed, it's like 10 or 11 o'clock Saudi time, and I got to be up the next morning because we got to be downstairs at that 10:30 departure, and you want to at least have time for breakfast. That's one thing my dad taught me. If you got a chance to eat, man, eat. You don't know when that next is coming sometimes. So I followed the old man's advice, as I do often in my life, and I ate. So it's just long days, but I enjoyed it. I think that I don't know, the talents seem to be kind of like me. They kind of were a new area, and they knew they were kind of a little bit a part of something significant. And where their country goes in the years to come remains to be seen. But I know what they want to do. They want to more westernize their country, and little things like women driving and things of that nature. It's not a little thing, but it's a thing that is used as an example quite often. So I know they're working hard on that, and the leadership and the future leadership, I think, are very motivated to bring some of the West and some of those customs into their country.
Did you get a chance to sit down and talk with Vince any?
Nope, I didn't see him. Didn't see Vince. I didn't see Kevin Dunn. This thing was it was a big ass stadium and nice stadium, but it wouldn't be confused with Jerry's World and but nothing is, I guess. But it's nice stadium. So my point, it was big. 62,000 maybe the capacity, with everything open, I believe. But I don't know how much on the floor. But again, I told you the floor was kind of limited. I didn't see hardly anybody. We stayed in our own little group. I never left the hotel, man. I left the hotel to get in the car to go to the stadium. I left the stadium to get in the car to go to the airport. And me and Lawler wandering around by ourselves. Well, Booker was in the next car over in the Saudi airport, getting flashed in the face with these selfies. Nobody spoke any English. So here we are taking an Air France flight out of Saudi Arabia. So we're lucky we got off in the right terminal. But Saudi Airlines, a.k.a. Air France, was our flight. Didn't have that info. And God dang, we never found our gate. I really felt like, Jethro, Bodine, and Uncle Joe off Hooterville or something. But we got her done and took off. So, when you work all day and you leave at 3:20 a.m., it's a full day, man.
Hey, going back to the event before, I don't want to talk about the whole event. It was a big time deal. I know they flew a lot of talent over, spent a lot of money, or got a lot of money, whatever the deal was. But it's a huge deal. I guess they're looking to make more inroads over there as well. But I thought the match of the night was Shinsuke Nakamura versus AJ Styles, and I thought this match was a better match than the one they had over here in the States, which was highly anticipated. And maybe the match was in the wrong spot at Mania, or, the crowd, maybe they're a little burned out. That's a long event. But I thought they had a better match in Saudi Arabia and Jeddah. And I really enjoyed the match. I enjoy Shinsuke much more as a heel than I do as a babyface. And AJ, whether he's heel or baby, is one of the best workers in the world, and I'm a huge fan. So I really thought that match clicked, and I really liked it. On a nitpicky note, I think he's got to be not careful, but not to do too many of the low blows because those start to wear a little bit old. I like the kick to the back of the knee when the referee was there, some of the subtleties, but I'm liking now what they're doing or Shinsuke's able to do as a heel more so than I liked him as I don't want to say quirky, babyface. I don't know how you'd even call him, whatever his babyface style was. But what were your thoughts with him now working heel versus what they were trying to do with him as a baby?
I thought that, and I had a little preview of him because I called some of his matches for Access TV, which airs on Friday nights, on the Access Television Network, Mark Cuban's network. New Japan Pro Wrestling. I enjoy working with Josh Barnett. Josh, buddy of yours.
Oh, yeah.
We get along good. He's a man's man. He's at work, ready to go, and he understands the product, and he has a very strong belief into what he believes the wrestling business should be. And I don't try to compromise that whatsoever. His opinion is good to me. He's on the money. He don't like a lot of comedy. And a lot of us old guys don't like a lot of comedy.
No.
Unless it's organic. I've seen some funny shit in the ring, man. But it wasn't planned.
Right.
You laugh out loud, some things like that. So, but anyway, I thought we had not seen the best of Shinsuke yet. I thought his match with Sami Zayn when he came in at that NXT takeover was outstanding.
Yep.
And I don't think he reached that level again. Getting with AJ is a blessing in disguise for him. Turning heel on AJ is a blessing in disguise. Or maybe it's not disguised. It doesn't seem like to be disguised to me. It seems like it's a no-brainer. And but I talked to him in Saudi Arabia, and he is much more comfortable right now in his role than he seemingly was as a babyface, because I don't think that he felt it, and I think he really likes this role. But hell, Steve, how many guys do you know that had a good run of business, for a few years, and it would tell you that what was more fun, being a babyface or a heel? Well, most guys are going to say it's more fun being a heel. Don't you agree?
Yeah, well, you know what? You love the pops, you love the adulation, you love the adrenaline, all that. But just from creative liberty, freedom, I always preferred working heel. And, due to the, when we did that match at WrestleMania 13, and, it was more of a positioning type thing than saying, hey, now this guy is a good guy or a quote unquote baby face. And that was a real fun ride, and I enjoyed the hell out of it. But yeah, man, I always say that I much more preferred working and being a heel to being a baby.
And I think Shinsuke is too. So I just felt like the matches I saw him in, now granted they're high level matches at major events in the New Japan Company. And, like Okada, Tanahashi, big time guys.
Yeah.
High level matches, main event level matches at major events. He seemed to me to be a little bit more physically intense. He seemed to me to be a little bit more physical in general. And I felt it that night I saw him in person when he debuted, sitting there at ringside. But I just it didn't catch with me. It didn't build momentum as it should have. I thought it should have. And then the time he got to the main roster, I didn't feel it yet. And I know the guy's good. He's really good. He ain't no average hand. But I think he's better suited like you. I'm a big believer in his abilities. And if he can break loose in his own mind and be completely free and loose with his in-ring style, you'll notice a significant difference in what he is and what he can do and the perception of what he does. Some of those knee strikes I've seen him do to guys, it looks like it absolutely destroys them.
Well, that's part of what what I'm liking about him. He seems more aggressive, and when they were trying to, I don't know, do these interviews or promos with him, and it was kind of bordering on a little bit of comedy or humor. I mean, this is a guy, and I've been beating a dead horse for a long time, but I haven't talked about it in a long time. He's the king of strong style, man. That's a strong statement. It's a great tagline. So, man, this guy needs to be taken serious as a heart attack. Anytime he steps out there, and I don't care who you are, whether you're Braun Strowman or whatever, this is the king of strong style. So he's got a hell of an opportunity to take your ass out anytime he steps through the ropes. So he needs to have, or they need to me, they need to reestablish the danger factor with this guy, and he needs to pile up some wins, and he needs to pile them up in strong fashion. But that's just me.
I'm a big believer, and I think still winning counts.
Absolutely.
I believe that winning counts. And when you say, well, look, the fans know it's a work, they know it's showbiz, come on. Now, we even winning counts. Well, it does. The perception, you subconsciously, you gravitate to success, and you try to, most people, unless they're sadists, move away from negatives. So I perceive then that winning is a good thing. That's why the match with Charlotte and Asuka at WrestleMania was so big dealing, because you knew there was either going to be a new champion crowned or the undefeated streak was going to go by the wayside. Simple. I processed that information that quick. So I don't know. I think he's a good hand, man. He's a good dude, and I think he'll do well in this role. And I wouldn't be surprised to see him beat AJ somewhere at some point and be the champ, and then maybe get a little entourage or something. But there's a lot of things you could do in his case that might make some sense, quite frankly.
Hey, man, let's talk about that the Charlotte Asuka match just briefly, because I talked about it after the show, and I thought. I love Charlotte as a heel more so as a baby. That's me personally. She has a swagger. I mean, well, she's a chip off the old block. I liked Rick much better as a heel than I did as a baby. But in this match, it didn't seem like it really mattered who was the heel or the baby. What I loved about the match between these two women at WrestleMania 34 was the intensity and the action, and you couldn't see through anything. They weren't giving any tells, letting you know what's going to happen next by telegraphing. One of the biggest problems I see in today's business is this telegraphing of here's what we're about to do, and just the aggressive nature of both women. I thought that was, Charlotte's had a bunch of great matches, and Asuka's off the charts good. So, but I really dug that match. The physicality of it, the high stakes, and I really like that match. I prefer Charlotte as a heel, but in that match, it didn't matter. I thought that was one of the standout matches on the card.
Yeah, I agree. I did the same thing I mentioned. I think my first podcast on Westwood 1 was dropped on the Wednesday after that WrestleMania we're talking about. So I remember talking about that. I just felt like I love the intensity, the physicality of it. I forgot they were women in the sense of they're doing girl spots, like grabbing the hair with a snapmare or the hair, that kind of shit. You know what I mean?
Yep.
The old women's spots. Oh, and they don't do those. They don't do that corny stuff. They wrestle. And they make contact, they make impact. And the fact that women now are as proficient as men in utilizing their kicks. 10 years ago, 15 years ago, for sure, I don't know too many women in the Attitude Era that utilized kicks all the time. Some did, but it was a fleeting art form, a fleeting skill set. Now, if you don't have a kicking game, aren't perceived to be, totally rounded out. So they did some good stuff, man. I thought that was a hell of a match, and I had no idea. One of the nice things I liked about it is I couldn't call the finish.
Yep.
I had no idea who was going to win or lose. I still think that's very, very important for the presentation of the product. And everybody loves the spoilers, loves this, loves that, and all the little tales, as you mentioned, but the hints or the evidence or what's going to happen. And I just can't spend that much time on that stuff, man. I'm not a detective at heart. I don't care. But I sure like to be surprised. And if I'm not preconditioned, then the surprise always means more.
With the business changing as much as it's changed since your heyday down there in Mid-South working for Bill Watts, the NWA, the Attitude Era, and then you finally leaving WWE and going to New Japan Pro Wrestling on Access TV, calling the show with Josh Barnett. When you're watching WWE now, through what lens do you watch? Because now, because for a while I was just super critical, and now I just say, Steve, let it go. Don't watch as Stone Cold Steve Austin. Don't watch as a guy who's been in the business since '89. Just watch it for what it is and enjoy it. And that's what I try to do. I try to watch it as a fan rather than an inside guy. Well, how do you do it, JR?
I find I watch it as a fan, Steve, because I'll tell you why. I have been known to fixate on this stuff and consume myself in it. I mean, literally. And if Jan were here, God bless her, I should say amen to that, because I ate, breathed 24/7, man, for a long time, with a lot of responsibility and a small staff that was very, very efficient. I will say that without question. They kept us going because we didn't have the talent relations numbers that they have now, and I'm glad they do. I'm not complaining. But we worked really hard and worked all the time, and I loved every minute of it. Wouldn't trade nothing, but you give up a lot, man. You give up a lot in that trade-off, quite frankly. So, but it is what it is. I still enjoy doing what I do. So, but I realize I'm not. I get reminded all the time, well, you're not the same as you were in the NWA. Well, look, I've said this a million times. You guys made the music. I didn't make your damn music for you. I never made any music for anybody. I put lyrics to some music. Did that often. That was my job. My job is to provide the lyrics. Your job is to make the music. That's how I always looked at it. So some guys were better at making music than other guys. And some eras of the business, to me, resonated with a more clear sound, like the Eagles or somebody I really dig. I always remember the lyrics. I always remember the words. I always remember the songs. So, but that's a fleeting deal, man. It's a fleeting deal. Today's wrestling fans are very unique, Steve, and the information flow is really, it taints some people's vision of what it should be, quite frankly, in all due respect to our business, mindless television. Why should it be stress-related? I'm not saying it should be a comedy. I'm just saying, let me get lost in it, don't insult my intelligence, and move on. Now, when I watch it now, I will watch it as a fan and watch it as not as an EVP of talent relations. Jeez, I don't want to do that. I'd drive myself crazy. So I watch as a fan, and I see things I like, and I thought, a week ago when they did the Bruno Sammartino video, I thought that was one of the most beautiful things that they've done ever.
Yeah.
Oh, just really phenomenal. And they do some really cool things that sometimes don't get a lot of accolades because everybody's too obsessed with the booking, creative.
Right.
And man, when I see, if you want me to not read something, write spoiler on it. Unless it's a biography about Don Jardine, I ain't reading it.
Hey, man, let's take a quick pause for the calls here, Jim. I'll get a word in from the sponsors. But before I do, announce to everybody where they can find you on social media and listen to your podcast on Westwood One.
Well, my new show, Steve, it's called The Jim Ross Report. Very cleverly named. I don't know that. No need to congratulate me on the cleverness of that. The Jim Ross Report. It's a podcast that drops every Wednesday. Notice I use the hip term drops. I'm very with it. And it drops on Wednesdays, and wherever you hear podcasts. And same as your deal, you should subscribe at iTunes Podcast or Apple Podcast now, and the Steve shows, my show, and then on Twitter I'm at JRSBBQ. And I don't have a person doing that. I do that. So if you see something really, really stupid or redundant or a pain in the ass, you cannot blame anybody but me, because it's all me, for better or for worse. So that's that. And, of course, I know we've got more to talk about, but I've got Lawler and the King and the JR and the King live shows are going to be fun, and I'll be talking more about those in the upcoming weeks.
All right, let's take a quick pause for the calls and get big ups to TrueCar. Now, if you're looking to buy a car, you're probably familiar with terms like MSRP. You might even know what it stands for. But what does it actually mean? The same goes for invoice, list price, and dealer price. It's enough to confuse anybody. All you're really looking for is a price that actually means something. Introducing True Price from TrueCar. Now you can know exactly what you'll pay for the car you want, including fees and accessories, before you even get to the dealership. TrueCar dealers will show you the true price on cars like the one you want, all from the comfort of home. And how do you know if your true price is a great price? Because TrueCar shows you what other people paid for the same car you want. And your certified dealers know this, so they set their true price competitively so they can win your business. So when you're ready to buy a new or used car, visit TrueCar to enjoy a more confident car buying experience. Some features not available in all states. Coming right back with Jim Ross. Hey man, the NBA playoffs are happening right now. Therefore, you need to be up to date with the action with Real GM Radio. Basketball expert and sports writer Danny LaRue has a show here on PodcastOne Sportsnet where he breaks down all things NBA with some of the NBA's best thought leaders. For in-depth conversation about the NBA playoffs, check out Real GM Radio every Thursday on PodcastOne Sportsnet and Apple Podcasts. Also, remember to rate and review. We always appreciate your feedback.
This is the Steve Austin Show.
All right, I'm back with Jim Ross here on the Steve Austin Show. Man, I saw you post a hell of a damn picture. Your back was all bruised up. You said you had a broke vertebrae. What in the wide, wide world of sports did you do?
Well, that picture was taken in September, and I threw it out there on Twitter in September. But what happened was the Sooners were home playing Tulane on a September Saturday afternoon, and I yeed when I should have hawed, which means I got in the way, and I got my ass ran over on the sideline. And there were these pipes that were exposed on top of the surface of the field that took the cooling breezes and stuff into the bench area, coolant thing. Those big offensive and defensive linemen to sit there and cool off a little bit. So anyway, I fell on that, and these two kids fell on top of me and knocked the breath out of me. I hadn't had the breath knocked out of me in years. But I'll tell you what, you're talking about a scary deal. And I've had it happen so many times with football and things. But here I am at this stage of my life, get the breath knocked out of me, scared the hell out of me, man. I'm not kidding you. I thought I was going to die right there. I really did, man. I thought what a deal. JR dies on the sideline of the Sooners game.
Dude, to your point, there's nothing worse than, well, there's a lot of things worse, but getting the wind knocked out of you. Oh. The last time I did that, I was a kid. Well, it's happened many times, but my most vivid memory was I was riding my little 20-inch bicycle up a big-ass steep hill, and I didn't quite make it to the top, so I started rolling backwards, and I went about 20 feet, and there's a tree stump right down there at the bottom of the ditch I was trying to ride out of, like Evel Knievel jumping a Snake River Canyon. And I fell over and just hit my rib cage on that damn tree stump, and I just remember laying there on my back, and like when you can't breathe, you're like,
oh yeah.
And you're wondering, okay, I know I'm supposed to be breathing. When am I going to start again? And about 30, 40 seconds goes by as I'm thinking, Jesus Christ. And this was on a Sunday morning before we were actually going to go to church. So it was one of those come to Jesus moments I had with myself. But anyway, to get away from broken ribs and bicycle crashes and stuff like that, I just had to ask you about that picture. I'm glad to hear you okay. So did you go get an X-ray and the doctor said you got a broke vertebrae in that?
They gave me an X-ray at the stadium. They gave me an X-ray at the stadium after I got hurt. Inconclusive because of swelling. Then I got, about a week later, I got another set of X-rays, same thing, inconclusive. And they said, well, it's just give us some time. It's a tough place to have an injury. But we knew what the injury was. In fact, I knew what the pain was like. I knew I was waking myself up at night since September, And then, sneezing, coughing, all that stuff, not very much fun. So I told my doctor, I said, look, I want to get an MRI and see what the hell's wrong with me. I think we should know. So they did the MRI, and I have a cracked vertebrae in my back. He said, so essentially you've been walking around since September with a broken back. I said, okay, so that sounds good in a country song, but what can we do about it? And he said, well, you need to see a specialist. Of course I need to see a goddamn specialist. Then he'll see me to another noted authority, and then, so I don't know. It's just... it's just crazy, But when the older you get, I'll tell you this, and that's not probably what your fans want to hear, but the older you get, you start paying more attention to your doctors that you have and your surroundings, your medical care, because we all got to have a go-to, and I got several of them that take good care of me, and I'm just really lucky. That's why I'm very reluctant to ever leave Norman. When you called earlier today, we shot the breeze. I was sitting outside by the pool. It was 82 degrees. Because, Steve, I want you to understand this right here. I prescribe to the Arn Anderson theory that my fat looks better brown than white.
Dude, I showed up somewhere the other day, and I'm white as an albino just because I'm very fair-skinned and hadn't been out in the sun. And God dang, we was out there at the Broken Skull Ranch 2.0 in Nevada, and I went out riding my motorcycle or my four-wheeler, one of them, and, dude, I got burnt to a crisp. So, I remember back in the day, we used to always fly into the towns and grab a rental car, everybody, whoever you was going to ride with, jump in a car with them. First thing you do, go get something to eat at Denny's, hit a gym, or you live in a tanning bed. Because if you look tan, you look better on television. And it would look better on television if the toughest SOB in the history of the WWF, had a tan rather than not have a tan. But now, all these years later, whether I was filming Broken Skull Challenge or whatever, God dang, dude, I'm living with 50 block UVA, UVB protection on my damn white ass so I don't get any kind of skin gimmicks. You're still out there getting yourself brown, huh?
Yep.
Hey, I got a chance to see you when you stopped by my little section there at the WrestleCon thing. We got a chance to catch up. We didn't get a chance to spend a lot of time together or go out and eat like we normally do.
You're printing money, brother. You're printing money. That's all I can say for it, ladies and gentlemen. The son of a bitch was printing money. I saw it with my very eyes. And I made a bid on an autograph picture. I got spurned. So I left. You did some business, buddy. I'll tell you that. I was so shocked that you did that booking. Did you enjoy that?
Well, I really enjoyed it. And one of the reasons why I did it, a couple of reasons I did it. I get people emailing me all the time on my show address, questions at steveaustonshow.com about, hey, man, when can I meet you? Where can I meet you? Why don't you ever do any appearances? And so I figured, you know what? This is the biggest show of the year. It's the biggest wrestling company in the world. Guys offered me go down there and do an appearance, and then that one sold out, so we did another one. And I really just I love New Orleans. I love Louisiana. I love that city, and I love that state. It's always fun to kind of go out every now and then and do one of those things. And I haven't done them in years, but it was the right location at the right time, and I wanted to go down there and feel that WrestleMania crowd and not be a part of WrestleMania. I want the young guys and young girls to have all that time, but it was just something to do. Had it been somewhere that was too far away, Jim, I probably wouldn't have done it, quite frankly. But all the stars lined up, all the things in my schedule lined up, and I really enjoyed myself, and I really enjoyed when people have been supporting my career as long as they have, and they're standing there in line to meet me and then get an autograph. I want to make sure everybody gets their money's worth. I shake their hand, look them in the eye, and have a real short conversation with them. And it was what it was. I had a damn good time, and those guys from WrestleCon and Sean Jacoby ran a super line, so I was in real good hands and had a nice room. Got a chance to hang out with Kenny Omega and some of those other guys that I really enjoy watching their work and just meeting the fans, dude. It was a good time, and I don't know that I'll do one in the near future, but everything lined up for me. But as I was going down there, I reached out to Cowboy Bill Watts, and we were going to meet that first day. And, man, I just got swamped as soon as I got into town, so I'm looking forward to having him on my podcast. I got to do some research, but just talking to him on the phone just brought back a lot of memories. And I told Bill, I said, man, that Mid-South territory with Jim doing the commentary, and then they brought in PSAs to be the color guy there with you for a while. And, I just told him, finally got a chance to tell him, because we kind of crossed paths there at WCW there in the early 90s, that, man, that his promotion was my favorite promotion growing up. All the memories that I had from, the storylines and, those cliffhangers that I used to love that y'all would do, Jim, like a match would be in progress and y'all would go off the air hot and you would say, God dang, if something happened, we'll bring it back next week. And I just really enjoyed talking to Bill Watson. I'm looking forward to talking to him on the podcast. But And I started thinking about, watching you call matches back in the day from Mid-South to NWA and, of course, the Attitude Era. I, went from being a heel into a baby. And, man, quite frankly, I really think if there had been any other announcer other than yourself, yeah, I would have been hot. I would have got over. But I really think it was your gift or your knack or knowledge or passion or whatever it was, your insight to call my matches or refer to my character in the fashion that you did, to not heap traditional praise on me because I wasn't a traditional babyface, was an extreme. I believe that your commentary as far as my character or calling my matches was equally as important as all the guys that I was working with, whether it was Vince, Brett, The Rock, and so on down the line.
Wow, I appreciate that, Steve. Well, hey, look, you made great music that I heard. I heard the music loud and clear. I felt it, and I made an emotional investment in what I was hearing, so to speak. So it made it easier for me to then provide that lyric that people seem to still remember more often than not. So it was a great run. We had people. That's what I was meant earlier about watching today's product. We can't compare the workers then and the direction then, the storylines, the coarseness of the rated R stuff, the Attitude Era stuff. That you can't. It's not a fair comparison. It's not apples and apples here. I don't believe. Well, it's all wrestling, and that's what you brought. There's some people that don't know shit about wrestling will say that. Well, it's all wrestling. So that means you don't know a damn thing about the intricacies of business or the uniqueness of business of different promotions, exclusivities of different promotion. You don't know if you don't get it. So that's why I don't. That's a big mistake a lot of fans make, in my view. You can't compare today's product. Compare it to today's product. Compare it to last week. Compare it to the last WrestleMania or something. Something relevant. But this is a very generational business, man, and it's changing, and I believe it'll change back to, I was talking to the Young Bucks and in Long Beach when I did the live show for Access TV with Josh and the Japan show, and it went forever. I thought I was doing the Jerry Lewis telethon. That son of a bitch is about 5 hours, it seemed like, with no pee break. And I said, well, guys, it's the same old story. Just wear darks. And take the necessary precautions. I'll leave that to your own imagination. So anyway, I really enjoyed talking to him, and I said, man, since you guys worked that back injury deal at Wrestle Kingdom, where he's selling his back, he's got a bad back, and he don't take time off, and it's just perpetuating the injury, blah blah blah. It's a great story, simple. He sells it beautifully. I mean, it's great, Ricky Morton-esque. And I said, man, that's the difference. Your match now become a lot more emotionally invested. People can invest in pain. Unfortunately, they can invest in agony. They can relate to distress, and you're giving them all that, man. And they get all of it. So I said, you have to do less crazy things that might actually hurt yourself doing. But that's the thing there, Steve. The selling is Selling's the interesting part of the business, and sometimes we talk about guys selling like it was this novel new idea, and it's like that's like saying a baseball player that can't hit or can't pitch. Well, he's got a bad arm; he can't hit very well either, but he's a nice guy.
Yeah,
he's a good-looking son of a bitch and a team pitcher. I'll tell you that right now. He's a fine-looking man.
Hey, one of the things I want to ask you about, because you're probably a little bit more on the inside or have more sources than I have. I thought that the word on the street that maybe WrestleMania 34 was going to be Brock's last show, and all of a sudden he goes to Saudi Arabia and he's working Roman Reigns in a cage. And now I guess he's still with the company. Now, did Brock resign, or is he going to go to the MMA? Do you know what he's going to do?
He did resign. He did resign, and I think he is going to MMA.
Oh, so he's going to do both.
Yeah, that's what I hear. Now, that was not an official statement. WWE Hall of Famer Jim Ross reported. That's bullshit. I ain't reporting nothing. I'm saying that the word on the street, which you know how that goes, Steve.
Yes.
It could be spot on or it could be absolutely horse manure. But the word I heard, he signed a contract extension length, I don't know. I've heard some say short-term extension. I've heard some say it's a normal what you'd expect extension. I don't know, and I don't care because it's none of my business. But I think he's still WWE, and I think he's going to, the UFC needs him really bad right now. I know some of the MMA people that like your show, and I'm sure a lot of them do, probably, are distressed now that I mentioned that. But, the climate in the UFC right now is not really overly healthy, even though they're making a profit. The business we know from a talent standpoint, they're short of star power. And unless it's a major fight, sometimes they're not going to get your money on pay-per-view just because it's a UFC. They used to if they had more depth on top and they have more, name main events, sometimes two. So Lesnar will pop a big number for them that they need for their bottom line. If he wins, they get another one out of him. If he loses and it's close, then they'll get a second one probably. So I'm sure he's win or lose in this debut back. They probably got 2 fights planned for him, and there may be this kind of booking, and maybe they're feeding him to somebody. I don't have any idea, man. I know that sounds awful weak to say Brock Lesnar get fed to somebody, but the sense I'm making of that and the way I mean it is being put as somebody that's a higher level in that heavyweight division that, perceived as such, to get that guy a good win. Because the bottom line of it is, we both know whoever beats Lesnar is going to get a good win.
Well, yeah. If you can beat Brock Lesnar and put that notch on your gun, I mean, that's a hell of a damn win. And the thing about Brock is what I like about Brock. Well, he's a very good friend of mine first and foremost. But man, when he shows up, or if they announce that he's going to fight somebody, I'm immediately interested.
Me too.
And, I guess I've known Brock for a long time, but I mean, even if I didn't, because I'm a MMA fan and I'm a pro wrestling fan, he's just one of those guys. And, I think, you would agree because you were watching him way back in the day when he first came in the company, probably before he got in the company. But
I was going to tell you the story there, Steve. Me and Briscoe started recruiting. Jerry Briscoe was instrumental in getting him signed because Brock's college wrestling coach, Jay Robinson, was a teammate of Jerry Briscoe's at Oklahoma State when they wrestled for the Cowpokes out there. So they'd known each other their entire adult lives. So I saw somebody send me something on Brock, and we started, and Jerry was already on it, and so nonetheless, we made a contact there, and we could have signed him. He was willing to sign with us for what we had on the table after his junior year. He did not win the NCAA Division I title his junior year. He won his senior year. But the senior year came about because we made a deal with the coach that we would not make him an offer for him to leave school a year early because they felt very strongly that if he came back, he'd win a national championship, and he did. And as I thought was my mindset was signing a national champion has more credence than signing a guy that didn't wrestle for the national title, didn't wrestle his senior year. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Having this guy's a former NCAA champion, that's got a little sizzle to it. It's real. Feel that, So, but I think he's a big star, man. He's in a phenomenal position. He has leveraged and earned and worked his ass off, Steve. He is he's got to be. The 7-figure numbers are just popping out like crazy here, there, and yon. Because he's got to be do it very well. So I'm very happy. I'm proud of his business acumen, quite frankly. And I know he's got good people around him, obviously, but at the end of the day, he's the boss. He makes the final. So, and I'm proud of what he's doing. More power to him. And something else, this Andre movie came out, right? So everybody's talking about Andre for a while, and I think Andre was a part-time wrestler. He wrestled in a lot of territories for a week here and a week there. He came to Mid-South twice a year. That's it. For a week. So he wasn't on TV all the time. If people act like Lesnar's not on television, it's a cardinal sin. I don't get that. He's smart. He's not going to sit on the shelf too long. He's going to extend his shelf life, which he's doing. I think it's brilliant. If I was a guy and I signed come back to WWE, I would say I want a limited schedule. I don't want to be overexposed. I'll work, whatever. But there's ways to do that to protect yourself. Look, Chris Jericho's a good example. He never leaves long enough to forget him. I saw him in Saudi.
Well, what do you think about then how do you go about in the UFC if they're kind of like, they're a shoot version of what we do, especially way back in the Attitude Era and in the days before the Attitude Era, a serious product. How do they go about building stars?
Look, I'm a big UFC fan, as are you. I got friends that work there. I got all the respect in the world for what they built. And I'm troubled about what I see because they don't have their big names are are gone, and for various reasons. They can't predict what Conor McGregor's going to do. And that deal was not, I thought all along that was they shot an angle. And I've heard it just not true. He's been very unhinged. I'm sure he's just richer than hell, and he don't care. When a guy who has nothing and literally fights, figuratively fights, figuratively and literally fights his ass off, and he becomes wealthier than, whatever. Like my dad would say, he's richer than 8 foot up a bull's ass. So Conor McGregor is that, at least. How do you react? How are you prepared for that kind of money and fame? So I guess good decisions, bad decisions can be made for anybody, but it seems like for guys that come into something big, they perceive it's never going to go away. It can never end, and they'll never be broke. And none of that's true.
Hey, what are you thinking about that upcoming fight with DC, Daniel Cormier, who's one of my favorites, with Stipe Miocic, who also I really like as a heavyweight champion? That fight is on the way. What do you think about that?
I don't know the Stipe. I've never met the gentleman. I follow his fights, and I enjoy watching him fight. Now, DC, on the other hand, I met many, many times. I consider him a friend. The fact he was an old wrestler, he was a Mid-South wrestling fan, too.
Oh, absolutely, man. From Lafayette, Louisiana. He's a big, big wrestling fan.
Yeah, so I always thought that was cool, and he's one of my favorites, quite frankly. I think he's a hell of a broadcaster.
Absolutely.
He's a good storyteller. He knows what a soundbite is. He tells you what time it is, how to make the watch, all that good stuff. But I think that this will be – I think that maybe DC has had issues at 205. Make him wait. He's a big guy. He's thick. That's just what the good Lord gave him, man. And so maybe that 205 is attainable. Obviously it is, but is it healthy? I don't know. I'm not a doctor. All I know is that, not having to make a 205-pound weight limit and still working on it, doing everything you normally do. Train as hard as you can, because this guy's going to be a really tough out. But I think maybe DC goes into it a little stronger, a little bit more vitality, strength, a little bit bigger. And I think that'll pay off for him. So I can't pull against Daniel Cormier. I like him too much, and it's not a great decision if you're a bookie or a gambler. But he's a buddy. You want to pull for him in all cases. So I'm pulling for DC.
I'm looking forward to this fight just because I really like both guys, and like you said, I'm a huge DC fan. But Stipe he fought a smart fight when he fought. Jesus Christ, I always mess up that guy's name. The dude that was so powerful that knocked Alexander over him, almost knocked his block off. That fight, he fought that guy with a lot of intelligence, and I think both of these guys are such smart fighters. It'll really be a chess game. They're not going to be playing checkers. And DC, supreme wrestler, but also, man, a dangerous right hand. And this is me coming from a pro wrestling background. I just think both these guys' fight IQ is off the charts. And so just to see how they go about assessing each other, feeling each other out, and then how whatever their strategy is, I'm looking forward to see, because I just think it's going to be a high-level fight between two champions, and DC moving up back to heavyweight. That's going to be interesting to me. And man, if that fight doesn't sell a shitload of tickets, there's something wrong.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's a very desirable, star-packed main event. And the question of can DC function as a heavyweight better or less than, all that stuff. I'm looking forward to it, because I think it's going to come down to this: the guy that works the hardest in training camp and rolls into that son of a bitch is more ready than he's ever been is going to have the odds-on chance to win, in my view, because I think they're very evenly matched in a lot of ways. But I just really believe that DC is going to be stronger and have more vitality because he's not on that damn weight-cutting binge. I'm not big on that weight-cutting stuff, man. I'm not a fan of the whole process. So there's a joke there somewhere from my fat ass. I get that. But seriously, it's just like, damn. This looks so unhealthy. And in a lot of ways, there's so much mental anguish, and it's psychologically challenging, not just physical. I don't know why you want to make a violent person more violent by not letting them eat.
Yeah, it doesn't sound fun to me. But anyway, hell, man, I'm going to wrap things up over here, and I've got to do a bunch of chores. My wife is about to walk in the house over here. I haven't done half the shit she told me to do. I'll tell you what, I appreciate you coming on the show today. We're just sitting there shooting the breeze, talking about wrestling. We segued into MMA, and I know you just got back from Saudi Arabia. You're dead dog tired. Thanks for coming on the show, and it's good talking to you. One more time, tell everybody where they can find your podcast and your social media so we'll make sure we got you covered.
All right, man. I appreciate that. I enjoy being on with you, and that was unscripted, folks. Just two friends shooting a breeze on a Sunday afternoon. That's how that goes sometimes. And we didn't even talk about football, and we could probably have another show about football if we wanted to. But I am on Twitter at JRSBBQ, and I'm at a new home for my podcast, the creatively titled The Jim Ross Report. Very catchy, I know. You'll be humming that now all day. The Jim Ross Report. The Jim, get that out of my mind. That's on Westwood One, folks, or wherever you get. And they're the distributing my podcast, and they are good folks, and I enjoy working with them. And then I got wherever podcasts are, so you can get it and subscribe for free at Apple Podcasts and leave us a 5-star rating, whether you believe it or not. Lie about it. I don't care. Help a brother out. Man's got to eat, Right, Steve? Man's got to eat.
Man's got to eat, and stay tuned on JR's podcast and his Twitter account as he will bring you up to speed on when and where him and Jerry the King Lawler decide to go out and do their two-man shows and talking about everything that they're going to talk about.
I'm looking forward to that.
I am too. I might buy a ticket to see that one, kid.
Good. Well, at least I got one sold. But here's the thing. Me and Lawler and I doing this show, the stage show, Q&As. No questions off limits. As I said, getting a good MC is a crucial role. And we'll be able to find that in each market. That's not a problem. But, boy, the show writes itself. It's like going in the old days when you'd hear, okay, you guys, he wants Joe over with his finish past 10. That's what they got. So Joe is going to go over with his finish hole, wherever that may be, after 10 minutes. That's everything he knew. And that's all they knew. And they go out and have a match. Because they're usually on the opposite sides of the building. It was a luxury when you got into a dressing room where you could communicate face to face and still keep some level of confidentiality. But that didn't happen back in the day that often. They just call it. They felt it and they did it. So that's kind of how I see Jerry and myself, is that we won't need to rehearse anything. We can just, listen and react. And that's his world, that's his element, and I will try not to get in his way, but it'll be fun, I think. So, but I'll keep you posted. And if we play your area, I expect to see your smiling face there.
You will. Hey, man, give me a heads up next time you come do some voiceovers for New Japan Pro Wrestling on Access TV, because every time you come into town, I'm always gone or doing something. So please give me a heads up so maybe we can go out and grab something to eat and have a drink or something.
Okay, I can handle that.
Jim Ross, JR, good old JR, thanks for being on the show.
You bet, buddy. Anytime.
New to Podcast One, the producer's guide with Todd Garner. Join Todd as he interviews the biggest names in Hollywood, like Adam Sandler.
We drove down there, and my brother's like, do you have your material? I said, what do you mean?
Rebel Wilson.
I couldn't interact with these people, so I put on this American accent and pretended to be American.
And Isla Fisher.
I just wrote a passionate letter explaining how much I wanted to be a clown, begging them to accept me.
Download new episodes of the producer's guide with Todd Garner every Thursday on PodcastOne.com, the Podcast One app, or Apple Podcasts.
All right, everybody, give me the go-home cue. So I'm going to wrap up this podcast, ride off in the sunset. Before I do that, I want to remind you that all my Broken Skull Ranch gear, T-shirts, hats, is at ProWrestlingTees.com/Steve Austin. And the best damn IPA on the planet is Broken Skull IPA at El Segundo Brewing Company. You can also get Broken Skull IPA at Whole Foods and Total Wines if you live in California. If you don't live in Cali, check InsideTheCellar.com and see if they ship to your state. And if you're looking for a badass pocket knife, I got two for you. I used mine extensively while I was outdoors in Nevada. Check out the Cold Steel Broken Skull knife for the Cold Steel working man's knife, and you can get them at my Amazon store. Amazon has the best price on both knives. Just go to Amazon.com/shop/Steve Austin. And I want to say one more thank you to all the fine sponsors of the Steve Austin Show. That's how I'm able to do this podcast for you twice a week for free. And you can find all my sponsors at PodcastOne.com. Just click on the Killer Deals button at the top of the page and then click on the Steve Austin Show banner. Folks, until next time, my name is Steve Austin, and I will catch your ass down the road.
This has been a Podcast One production. Download new episodes of The Steve Austin Show every Tuesday at PodcastOne.com. That's PodcastOne.com.